Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello and welcome back.
Hope everybody is doing well.
Indeed.
So, Schumann resonance, where is it at? Well, we don't know. There's a blackout going on right now.
Yeah, I guess they don't want us to know.
No, but you could see that in the prior 24 hours, we had quite a bit of activity going on there. Look at that whiteout, and then now blackout, and kind of a period of relative inactivity in between.
And the common theme is everyone seems to be exhausted. Yes.
Yeah, we're really noticing people feeling exhausted. And we have had a lot of people that feel very, very stressed with obviously good reason with everything that's going on all around us. It's so important, as always, to have a good spiritual practice and a good exercise practice. And as soon as we get this video up, then we're going to go hit it and get a workout in and do some Qigong and mantras. So it'll actually probably be Qigong and drawing the life force in what's called Zhangzhuang, and then going into yoga, going into some resistance training, and finishing with mantras. And then we'll go get something to eat after that. So that's what the rest of our day looks like. And up to this point, we've been basically working on people energetically and helping in all the ways that we can. I wanted to, before we forget, thank Incendious Phasma.
Yes,
our latest Patreon. Thank you so much for your support.
And I'm sorry I forgot your name yesterday.
Yes. And we also want to thank you guys that have been ordering off of Medicinal Foods, which is a wonderful company led by people that really are out there trying to, again, do the same thing we are, is trying to raise consciousness, educate the public, help people stay healthy, and make it through these times, actually thrive, instead of just surviving these times. And so it does support the channel when you do order through our link, which is on all the videos. Now, checking out what's going on, we have another explosion. A huge explosion rocks German chemical park, injuring at least 31, and we have 2 dead and 5 missing. And cause unknown at the time. And that got me thinking about all these blasts that we've seen everywhere where, pending further investigation, causes unknown at the moment. I don't see any updates. Maybe they're out there, but I don't see the updates. Right. So what have they found out about, like, a lot of these? Are they sharing? Yeah, there's been just so many of these. As you can see, that smoke, and then when you think chemical plant, you think, oh gosh, what toxins are spewing into the air this time?
It's really horrible that we don't even know these chemical plants. It could be anything, and then we find out 20 years later, oh, by the way, it was this thing that causes all kinds of weirdness in your body. We're sorry.
Or maybe it has something to do with the next article, or maybe not. Mossad cell arrested over plans to provoke violence during ongoing protests in Iran. Tehran is claiming. Members of an armed cell who allegedly worked with Israel's Mossad spy agency and planned to provoke violence during protests in Iran have been detained. Tehran's intelligence ministry told local media the group, which allegedly has access to heavy shipment of weapons and ammunition, was recently apprehended after entering Iran through its western border. An official from the ministry told the Fars news agency they didn't elaborate on the size of the unit or the nationality of those arrested, but they insisted the suspects were acting in cooperation with Mossad, which is Israel's spy agency. And again, they could divest themselves of knowledge, because they could have, basically hired mercenaries, quote unquote, contractors, however, modern day pirates. I don't what saboteurs. We could use all sorts of wording for what's going on. They could have recruited them in East Oshkosh, Tasmania, who knows where, anywhere, and brought them in. And this way, they're divesting themselves of a direct connection, so to speak, because it wasn't Israel's people, for instance. And this goes on with other countries too. And what I'm kind of saying is how many of these blasts are related to things along these lines, depending on where you're looking at, because we've seen these strange occurrences and explosions all over the globe, all different countries. So classified documents allegedly from Iran. And in this world, you got to think, okay, are they really from Iran? Is it really from Israel? Is it maybe from Russia? Maybe it's from China. Maybe it's from the US. Maybe it's from Australia. Maybe, who knows, right? I mean, who knows? Because it is a tangled web that we have going on. These classified documents, allegedly from Iran, reveal secret research into how a cyber attack could be used to sink a cargo ship or blow up a fuel pump at a petrol station. I wonder if they could actually steer a cargo ship so that it jams a canal. I wonder if somehow they could cause dangerous structural damage to bridges. I wonder what else they could do.
I wonder if they had frequency weapons that could do these things from a distance.
Yeah, these internal files obtained by Sky News also include information on satellite communication devices used by the global shipping industry, as well as computer-based system that controls things like the lights, heating, and ventilation in smart buildings across the world. Failures at inopportune times. Interesting. The papers appear to reveal a particular interest in researching companies and activities in Western countries, including the UK, France, and the United States. A security source with knowledge of the 57-page bundle of 5 research reports says it was compiled by a secret offensive cyber unit called Shadid Keveh, which is part of Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Cyber Command. The source said he believed the work is evidence of the efforts by Iran to collect intelligence on civilian infrastructure that could be used to identify targets for future cyber attacks. They are creating a target bank to be used whenever they see fit, said the source, who requested anonymity to be able to talk about the documents. And in reality, I would expect that this might go on in just about every government, or at least a lot of the big major governments globally. And here we see out of Forbes, thousands of ships, millions of troops. China is assembling a huge fleet for war with Taiwan. And right off the bat, because they start talking about the logistics of what it would take for China to, secure the reunion, so to speak, of the nation. Well, to have any chance of conquering Taiwan, China might need to transport as many as 2 million troops across the rough 100 miles of the Taiwan Strait and land them under fire at the island's 14 potential invasion beaches or 10 major ports. That's a lot of people, far more than the PLA Navy can haul in its 11 new amphibious ships. Well, the reality is they have a lot more than that. And right away, I have to say, look at the fishing vessels that we constantly see, the hundreds or even more than hundreds fishing vessels that have been off the coast of South America, off the Galapagos Islands. When you look to it too, let's see, firepower. When you look to it too, China has actually become the #1 navy in the world as far as total volume of ships. Total volume of ships out there. Granted, that the size and scope and the power that the U.S. Navy has, most would say is still definitely ahead of what China can field. Of course, China would not be alone too in any sort of conquest, and of course we don't want any more wars out there. But then again, we don't want to stick our head in the sand either, and we want to be aware of the reality of things. So if you look at China and Russia, you can see China has the most manpower available as far as any nation goes, fit for service as well, and tremendous amount of personnel, also tremendous amount of money. As China doesn't have the debt that the U.S. does. It's night and day. They have tremendous purchasing power and foreign reserves, and they've been working on the gold as well, and so is Russia. And so you can see the total aircraft. This is looking at China and Russia, fighter aircraft, dedicated attack craft. This gets into all the details, land power, the tanks. You can see Russia has 13,000 tanks. China has 3,200. And when we go into Navy, you could look at the fleet. China has 777. Well, that's an interesting number there.
Yeah.
That's a little numerology there.
Curious.
Is that saying, well, all those sevens, that it has the blessings of the gods, so to speak?
Something like that, I'm sure.
Or are we really talking about something exactly the opposite?
Right.
And so you see the Navy-wise, size-wise, China's first, Russia's second. So that would leave the U.S. to be number third there. And it's just something that people are not aware of. But the money lenders of the world, yes, those people that had their tables overturned by Yeshua, because he was disgusted with the way things were and would be disgusted with the way things are right now, and he is. Most definitely. This is not the world that was envisioned, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, albeit that light is still a little bit away, but we have to keep working towards that. So, they've been really telegraphing the brewing conflict between China and the U.S. And here you see U.S. experts claim significant expansion of Chinese nuclear arsenal. Reports of silos, hundreds of silos, for building intercontinental ballistic missiles have been spotted. We had talked about this before. They're talking about this again. And they also have basically portable ones. They rely on portable ones that they can move from place to place. China has already used mobile launchers, as you see here. But they are also building a ton of missile silos out in the desert. And their time at the top of the food chain may be very, very brief, according to many experts as well, as if things go along and don't develop as far as the natural things and the augmented things that we're facing. If we were not going to head into a major conflagration, another global war, really India would overtake China in just a matter of probably a 20-year period or so. And again, part of it is the population, because China had that one child per couple rule for so long. And just like Japan and the European countries and even the U.S., its population increase has been due to immigration. If there was no immigration, we would be losing people too.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan, it's very, very stark and obvious how they're not replacing the people that are dying with new kids. And China, same thing. Plunging regional births drive home the severity of the demographic crisis. Local government data for the first 6 months of the year has offered new insights into China's declining number of births. Fertility rates. The country's low fertility rate and aging society. Yes, fertility is low on a global scale. I wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty redonkulous.
It's globally that fertility rates are plunging. Remember that Gil Bates making a statement about certain things.
Yep.
Yeah. Inflation shock. Are you ready to start paying $40 to $50 for a hamburger? Seriously? And so, there were some comments about how could you afford all that organic produce? It could be so hard, so expensive to buy the organic produce. But when you look at it, and I just walked by the meat area, just looking at it, and like seeing small steaks that are like $20.
Yep.
Well, it's like the organic cauliflower was like $3, something like that. The live organic lettuce was $2.99 a head, so that's not bad. I got the blackberries. There were 2 for $4 for organic blackberries. That was great, and the organic strawberries were $2.99. When you don't buy a lot of meat, I mean the meat's what's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean I can't believe the price of anything coming from a cow nowadays. It's incredible. We don't eat red meat, and we steer clear of pork as well. There's a lot of arsenic in chicken. Again, if you're not buying organic, free range, you got to be aware of these things. That's why, like when we do feed, and we're back to making the dog food for the dogs from scratch, which I'll go over and do a video of that maybe the next time that we're doing that. I'm really bringing in turkey for them for the most part. And again, making sure that it doesn't have all those nasty hormones, pesticides, chemicals in it. Very, very important because there's so many toxins in this world right now. But putting in like organic sweet potatoes, organic kale. I mean, I got a big bag of organic kale for, I think it was under $3. It was probably like $2.50 something. You can, buy organic relatively cheap. And I'm actually finding that in some cases, in some places, like we go to a Kroger most of the time, um, it's not so much more than the conventional like it used to be. It used to be much worse.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like organic pricing is coming down relative to pricing overall. Maybe it's just that the inflation is just making things a little more even in some ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's getting incredible. And some of the prices, there's like tourist traps. Now I know I've been to some places, where the prices are ridiculous. Like in New York City, Tavern on the Green, for instance, was a place that my mom used to love to go to. And you're paying crazy amounts. Like back in the day, it might be, and that was years ago, $25 for really a hamburger, literally with some fries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can see here, there's a Vegas restaurant selling a burger that cost $100.
Wow.
Yeah, $100. And in the Netherlands, there's a luxury chef that's selling a burger for $6,000.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, to Gil Bates and Bezos and Musk, that's nothing. They make more than that in interest in probably 2 minutes. So to them, it's nothing. But to the average people, it's insanity. And we have a catalog of crop failures going on here. Extreme weather is slamming crops across the globe, bringing with it the threat of further food inflation at a time when costs are already hovering near the highest in a decade and when hunger is on the rise. Bloomberg provides the below emerging market food vulnerability scorecard graphic showing the most vulnerable places to the least vulnerable places. And so what was interesting here, though, is they talk about the fact that, sure, we have severe weather in different places all the time. What's unusual is that it seems to be happening in all the main growing zones all over the globe simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. All at the same time. So what a coincidence. Wow.
Yes. I mean, whether we're talking frost going on right now, with record frosts, record cold, or record floods, or record wildfires, it doesn't really matter. It seems like these things are really impacting the food production globally like never before, all at the same time.
So it's something that we really need to pay attention to and try to figure out, well, what are we going to do for ourselves? Because they're not going to help us.
And U.S. home prices have never risen this fast. And I think a lot of it has to do with people's intuitions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are gravitating to new areas. We've seen so many people relocating. And Cindy points out again, is there a certain group that has something to do with this? Well, there's that number again, 33.
Yep, 33-year history of it.
Yeah.
Why would they pick out a number 33-year history? Why not 30-year history?
Even looking at 16.61%.
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
Yeah, that sticks out to me too. But yes,
Yeah.
33.
Good old 33.
33. Yes. You know, it's like there was a comment, and I could tell when there's people that are new to the channel, and saying she said something like, "It seems like you doubt the reality of Christianity." Well, you know, see, the thing is, I think we might have 2 billion Christians on the planet, more than any other religion, but are they really Christians?
Right.
Do we have the real Christianity? What is the real Christianity? Well, we're going to touch on that at the end of this video, because I think people are thinking that they're following the teachings, but they're not. And again, that's because of the system which twists and distorts and perverts and just puts everything topsy-turvy, completely upside down, back assward.
Yep, it sure does.
Tropical storm Nipartak is approaching Japan. Landfall is expected. And again, this one's not packing super high winds, only 53 miles an hour. However, if you want to add 7 inches of rain onto a saturated area, you're going to have problems. And this is what we got going. And this is going to go over Japan and, probably end up bringing a lot of flooding over to the mainland after that. And we had a heck of a storm in northern Italy, violent hailstorm, lots of damage. There's videos here to show. It was wild just checking in with so many different family members that we talk to on a regular basis. Seems like there was crazy wild storms in Nebraska, in Wisconsin, in Kansas. There's storms rolling through Texas today. It's just wild what we're seeing going on. And we have more pink water. This time it's in Argentina. And no, it's not natural. And it's actually caused by a quote unquote preservative that they use, like in shrimp farming. And we mostly eat vegetarian, although we will have some fish that we feel secure about from time to time, as there's good beneficial fatty oils in it, and it's an easier protein to break down. And we've also gotten from the guides that is one of the less karmically damaging, fleshes, quote unquote, to eat. And then occasionally shrimp. We'll indulge in some shrimp. And we're just so sensitive now. Like, I had bought shrimp that I thought was the same brand as the last time. Now, I always check ingredients on everything I pick up when it has an ingredient. Meaning, most of our shopping is produce, really. And then we have rice, beans, lentils. We have oats here. All those type of things we have in bulk. So most of the time when we go shopping, the vast majority is just produce. And hopefully it'll be less and less as we get more and more stuff into the ground. And we did get a very small greenhouse that we could be able to utilize for things like lettuce and kale and Swiss chard and things along those lines that don't take up a ton of room all year round. And where we are here, I think we only have 3 months we're really going to have to be concerned with any sort of potential for frost for the most part. But yeah, I bought that bag and I looked and it did have this preservative on it because we could taste it. It was like, oh, this shrimp sucks.
Yeah.
This was horrible. This was gross. And the only thing was that it had this preservative. And by the way, that preservative, look what it does to lagoons.
Oh, yummy.
What does it do to your body, I wonder? So there's one local one that we get that the only ingredient on it is shrimp, period. No preservatives, no nothing. And by the way, we have a husband and wife hospitalized after being hit by lightning at Sanibel Beach Club in Florida. Sanibel Beach, beautiful, beautiful area. And I've seen some intensive lightning storms, both in Texas and in Florida. And we've had a lot of lightning strikes on people. And it seems like, India gets an abnormal amount. I don't know if it's just because they're the second most populous country or something about the composition of maybe the mountains, maybe certain ores attract it.
There could be. I've heard of that. Certain ores in the ground and certain things like that do attract it. So we got to watch out for that too.
Think about this. I mean, there's almost 1 million hectares of farmland that's been damaged in China. And with the floods that we've seen, 69 dead, 5 still missing, almost 13 million people affected. Look at this bridge. I mean, it's just been incredible. Dams have been busting. I've heard reports from people that I haven't seen any verification of, but that there's cracks in 3 gorges. That would be unconceivable of the damage. As you can see, look at the flooding. It's visible from satellite. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. It's horrible.
It's incredible. It's what's going on. Physicists have developed a new way to levitate objects using sound, just sound. This is super cool. This gets me thinking of the pyramids and how they made the pyramids.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do believe there's a whole lot of information about sound that we don't understand, or actually that's been hidden from us. When I was learning about the tuning forks and reading books, one book that I got, the lady who was putting this book together, there was a lot of information she could no longer get due to national security because they had taken these books out of public hands for national security purposes.
Exactly. Things like sound and things like frequency, like a RIFE machine, for instance, that is something that everybody could benefit from, but it's certainly very difficult to obtain. And there's a reason, because simple things like these things, when we get down to it, once we understand the technology, there's no profit involved. There's no control, there's no profit. So right away, they're always going to be covered up. And this gets me also thinking about different propulsion systems that we see. Like Cindy and I have seen, well, we saw a fighter jet right next to us that was making absolutely no sound.
That was crazy.
In the Nevada desert, it came and it flew right next to us.
Mm-hmm.
It was like crazy.
Yeah, you could look out the car window so you can imagine how low we were, and it was right there.
I would say he was 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
4 or 5 feet off the ground. And he wasn't going fast because, we were doing probably 75 in the desert. Mm-hmm. And he kind of hung with us for a while and then he took off. But it was soundless. It was a different technology that was in there, of course, very close to Area 51. But then we've also seen a TR-3B come and fly right next to us over at the military base just south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And that one, by the way, did kind of blast us with a certain type of energy. And, that was really interesting, as well as we could see that there were humans on there, as well as reptilians working together. And so when we see things like this, this is the future. This is the future sound and frequency to, again, clean energy. We have no need to be putting all these toxins out there in reality if all the technology was released to the public. We could have a clean environment. We could have much better health. We wouldn't need all the health care that we have in this world. And so it's pretty wild. Pressure generated with sound waves can be used to move particles, potential to be an even more powerful tool. They could be used to manipulate a wider range of materials and at larger sizes too. It's just wild. Yeah, we know anti-gravity technology is out there. There's declassified patents that we've talked about, and we could bring them up again in upcoming videos. And so what we're looking at here is kind of a representation of a light body, a Merkaba. And that is the key. This is really the key to escaping the 3D, 4D loop. And when you're Merkaba, your light body is fully activated and functioning. You could go into the higher densities. You could go up to 5D, 6D, even beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to hang here. You can go look at different things, go to different places, but you need that.
And so what I'm pointing out is the alternative technology. There's no technology that's greater than what's inherently in you. The potential that is in you is staggering. As I was sharing with one of our family members today, basically humanity, we could look at it in one sense that we are the fallen angels. Fallen not from original sin, not from being thrown out of heaven, by an angry God. No, fallen in that we've lowered our frequency, lowered our vibration, so that we don't truly know who we are. As one of the very first videos I ever made years ago was, we are a species with amnesia, in that we forget the potential that lies within us. When you look at a Merkaba, so what are you really seeing when we look at things like angels with wings? Well, we've seen angels. Uh, and really what we're looking at, the wings, are the Merkaba. This is why they are, quote unquote, angels. They can rise up or rise down through the densities. And so in that sense too, angel literally means messenger. Well, they are messengers from source. It's so interesting. We were watching a show and it was getting into witchcraft and sorcery. Look at English, look at English, right? Spelling. We've talked all about this, right? Good morning. Well, I hope your morning is good. Morning as in sadness, lamentations. The twisted words that we have that come out of the English language with their double meanings and double speak, and recognizing again that, sound, the power of sound, is tremendous. Look to Dr. Masaru Emoto's workings with water. Just saying over it, a glass of water, love, health, healing, it changes the structure of the water itself. This is why we pray over our food, and we put our intent, we put our blessing into our food and our drink. It's all about the intent. Well, in the golden age, as we've been saying, in the Satya Yuga, humans are like the gods, like the devas, like the angelic beings, because we have fully developed Merkabas. We can travel throughout the densities. And again, this group of humanity that is here on the planet has been basically had their wings clipped, so to speak. Just like a farmer, a homesteader, might clip the wings of their chickens so their chickens can't fly the coop and get away from them, the system has clipped our wings. Fluoridated water, nonstop wars, things that lower vibrations, frequencies, different viruses, bacteria, pathogens, unhealthy food, GMO. We could go on and on.
Oh, they absolutely have. And it's really a shame. And then they've given us all of these other technologies to try to take the place of what's already inherently ours, that we, can get ourselves, and what we can do and have and work with from the planet is so different. These two things are so different. The technologies and the 3D that take over things that we already have, like telepathy, being able to move objects, being able to just have a nice conversation with your pet. I know you guys love your pets out there, and your kids for that matter. You don't need to talk a whole lot. But we have that replaced with text messagings, so we don't always get to exercise these abilities that we have.
So it makes me laugh. Like when we look at sorcery, which has a negative connotation, right? What's the root? As Cindy would say, it's source.
It's source, right?
It's because they don't want you using source, which is in you right now.
It's your source
Source
energy.
is in you. You have source energy. They don't want you using that. They want you using their system, going through them. They're middlemen, just like the banking whole system. Create a system in which the power is given away freely. And so when you see people saying things like "suffer not a witch to live" and things like that, oh, you can't do tarot cards, it's prohibited. Yeah, because they don't want you developing your intuition. Keep drinking the fluoridated water. Keep calcifying your pineal gland. That's what they want. They want you to give your power away.
And to rely on the power that they give you, because they can control that.
Trust in them. So when we really see what these things are, and what did Ezekiel see when he sees the wheels within the wheels? Well, maybe it was a mechanical spacecraft, as some think. Like Eric von Daniken, Chariot of the Gods. It does feel more likely he was seeing a Merkaba of perhaps an angelic being. And then again, we can be like the angels themselves, because ultimately source lies within us. When we see the halos around the saints, what's that really describing? What happened really? Why? Why do they have halos? Why does Judas not have a halo? And again, we know that history is twisted too. So the story we've been given is not the real reality of what has occurred in the past. Well, the halo is all about having activated Kundalini. So first thing you got to do is have your chakras open. If your chakras are closed, your Kundalini is not going to flow. The serpents are representative of the Ida and the Pingala, the two of the major nadis, the masculine and the feminine, that intersect at these main chakras along the spine, of which there's 33 vertebrae. There's that 33 reference again. Is it a coincidence that there's 33rd degree masonry, that 33 is always referenced by the secret societies, and there happens to be 33 vertebrae? And think about the secret society, the skull and bones. Skull, bones, vertebrae, it's all reference to Kundalini, chakras. When your Kundalini is activated, chakras open, Kundalini is activated, Kundalini flows up to Sushumna, which is the central channel, ignites the third eye, crown chakra is open, connecting us to the higher realms, higher self, to the angelic realms, to source. We get our wings, and then we are like the angels themselves. That's really what it's all referencing. So, when you see Yeshua and Mary, it's really a representation of Shiva and Shakti. Again, it's really a representation of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, of the archetypal energies we could tap into in order to transform ourselves. It's all about the heart chakra right now. And a lot of people are having heart pains and issues with their hearts. And even, the plague upon the land and everything that's happening again to mimic the natural occurrences. It's all about the heart chakra, because you have 3 below, 3 above. This is the bridge. When Yeshua makes a statement like, none could come to the Father but by me, it's his way, which is Christ consciousness. It's not a dogma. There was no dogma created, that he created. He didn't create dogma. Dogma was brought to you by Constantine the Great and others after him in order to, conquer and conquest of the world and of people's minds and control them through fear, hellfire, and damnation. Inflate the ego by saying, you're one of the chosen ones. It's not about that. It's about a change in consciousness. And these times are all about opening up the heart chakra. That's where we could cross the bridge from the lower realms, climbing the ladder up into the heavens, back to source.
And that's what makes healing so very, very important. So those chakras can open up and you don't get hung up with a lot of blocks and a whole lot of pain, because that, when you go through traumas, emotional pain, that can block you up, which in turn can cause problems. So it's good to keep our chakras clean and clear.
Most definitely. And so, they will do everything they can to keep us separate, a new apartheid, new segregation. We could see everything that is going on It's all about stopping unity. And where we are going is to unity. This is the natural progressions of things. So it's time to release all the dogmas that no longer serve us. It's time to release the grasp of the system that controls the mind still, unfortunately, of most of the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And time to awaken to the divine potential which lies within. As Yeshua said, why are you amazed at the healings I did? You're going to do greater.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he had something unique that is not lying dormant in us, how could we possibly do anything greater? When we trigger that dormant, latent energy in the masses and people have the Kundalini rising, they can no longer fall prey to the deception of the matrix that we live in. It all becomes an obvious illusion to them, and they could see right through it. And this is what's happening as people are awakening all across the globe.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.